Okay then, good afternoon, everyone. Today is August 5th, 2020. This is another special meeting of the members of the State Liquor Authority being held in Albany. Present today in Albany is Chairman Bradley. By video, we have Commissioner Ford, can be seen on the screen, and by phone, we have Commissioner Fan. Commissioner Fan, could you just give us a little acknowledgement that you're
Yes.
there? Thank
Yes,
you.
Commissioner Chair.
All right then, we also have Council Meyerhoff, who's participating by video, and myself, Secretary Downey, here in person in Albany. On today's calendar, we have 4 items. They are all requests from Council's office for emergency summary suspension orders. The first item is 929HH, which is Bronx OP 1309 683. It's 1353 Restaurant Corp. Chairman, you have to recuse.
Yeah, so before we get going, I am going to have to recuse myself from this case as well as the next case. I'll let Tom do it on the next case. I was at both of these locations and made the observations along with the investigators. I'll be back. Tom, just email me for the next 2.
Okay.
The last 2.
All right. With that, then, we'll start. I think, Kayla, this is yours.
Yes, it is. Good afternoon, members. This is Kayla O'Donnell. Council's office is seeking an emergency order of 153 Restaurant Corp. Business as Bestia Kitchen, who has shown a disregard for the governor's executive orders, New York City Code, and the ABC. This license was issued on August 9th, 2018 to operate a restaurant in Bronx, New York. On July 31st, SLA investigator Cervalli made observations of the license process. He observed a waitress who was not wearing a mask bring 2 beverages to a double parked car without any food.
Are you, hold on, can you hold on a second, Kayla? Is she coming through clearly to everyone?
No, Kayla, you are breaking up a little bit.
Okay.
We still have you there?
Yep, I'm still here.
All right. Why don't you keep going? Commissioner Fan, Commissioner Ford, if you start having any problems hearing her, please let me know.
I completely cannot hear her.
All right.
I can hear.
Are you on a cell phone?
Yeah, I'm just walking
Yeah,
around trying to find somewhere for service. All right, is
why
this
don't-
better?
Yeah, try that.
All right, should I start from the beginning? Commissioner Fan, can you hear me?
Oh, you're
Still the same
breaking
issue.
up. Yeah, you're still breaking up.
How's that? Still breaking up?
No, it's a little better.
All right, I've got 4 bars here.
Yeah, go with it, Kayla.
Yeah, start from
All
the
right,
beginning, please.
Will do. All right. Council's office seeking an emergency order of summary suspension for licensee 1353 Restaurant Corp. Doing business as Bestia Kitchen, who has shown a disregard for the governor's executive orders, New York City Code, and the ABCL. The license was issued on August 9th, 2018 to operate a restaurant in Bronx, New York. On July 31st, SLA investigator Cervalli observed a waitress who was not wearing a face covering bring 2 beverages to a double parked car without food. The investigator noted a total of at least 8 patrons standing outside of the premises who were not wearing face coverings, and 1 was smoking hookah. Investigator Cervalli noted a total of 4 employees who weren't wearing masks, 1 of them being the manager. Inside the premises, the investigator observed 1 woman standing who was holding a drink. She was standing next to a table where 2 women were sitting, drinking, smoking hookah. Inside consumption is still prohibited in New York City at this time. Additionally, the licensee did not have a New York forward reopening plan on site. Beer and liquor receipts were not available for inspection. There were many bottles of Fireball and tubs at the bar. There were numerous fire code violations, such as unmounted fire extinguishers, uninspected fire extinguishers, blocked exits, unsecured gas tanks, defective emergency exit lights, obstructed fire extinguishers, and there was a missing electrical plate cover. Additionally, while at least 4 employees were observed to be smoking hookah, the licensee does not have a permit to sell hookah, and the type of hookah the licensee was selling is illegal, even with a permit. The licensee has shown a blatant disregard for the executive orders, violating 202.3, 202.38, 202.43, and 202.16, in addition to numerous fire code and New York City code violations. Since the licensee can't be trusted to follow the law, even when the law is designed to prevent the spread of a highly contagious virus during a pandemic, a summary suspension of this license is required to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the patrons, employees, their families, and the community as a whole. Thank you.
Yeah, let me, sorry, Tom.
No, go ahead.
Let me just add for the record that there are pictures that you have that show a number of people inside service in New York City with drinks on the table and hookah, no masks, including the person standing who appears to be the manager. In addition to the conditions outside, they're not even observing the indoor restrictions that have been in place since March. Take it away, Tom.
Thanks. I think that kind of completed the record there. Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, Tom.
All right, then we'll call for your votes. Commissioner Fan?
This licensee has committed multiple violations of the governor's executive order by allowing indoor service, alcohol service with no food, open containers in the establishment, and no proper face masks for both employees and patrons, and lack of social distancing among the patrons. As council mentioned, also endless other ABC violations, city code violations, and fire safety related items, including illegal hookahs. This licensee is clearly disregarding general SLA laws and also the governor's executive order surrounding the COVID pandemic. Bringing drinks to a car without food, that's something that has been should be everybody's method of operation since March, as council mentioned. And so, there's no excuse that they're serving drinks directly to people in cars. It's just, that's not the law. And anyway, so due to imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, I'm voting to summarily suspend this license.
All right, Commissioner Ford, your vote.
Well, they're violating indoor service and consumption rules, sale of alcohol to go without food, sale of alcohol in open containers, employees and patrons not wearing face masks as properly required, patrons standing and consuming while ignoring social distancing guidelines. Loud music was playing outside, contributing to lingering and double parking and congregating. Hookah being possessed, smoked, and sold without New York City Department held license. Type of hookah that they had there on premises is illegal beyond that. No New York 4 reopening plan for on-site inspection, no books and records, improperly unmounted fire extinguishers and also not monthly inspected, obstructed egress with bags of garbage blocking an emergency exit, missing the electrical switch plate cover, unsecured compressed gas tank in the basement, and defective emergency light next to the bar. So for these reasons, plus all those others listed by Commissioner Fan, I vote to summarily suspend.
All right, thank you then. I just want to note that Deputy Commissioner Roberts has joined us. We started the meeting a little early, so we didn't give him a heads up on that. But he is here in the Albany office. The next item, 929 II. Bronx OP 1296143. Licensee is Zero Lounge Restaurant, Inc.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Finn, Commissioner Ford, Senior Attorney Karam, and all the.
Hang on a second. Should the chairman be brought back at this point?
The chairman, I just know the chairman did indicate that he had to recuse himself from both the first matter and this matter. So just for the record, I would note that he is recused in this case as well.
Thank you.
Paul,
Yes.
you may have issues of breaking up on the phone. Say a few words, hum a few bars.
Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow. Everywhere the lamb would go, something.
All right, it's a little shaky, but we'll give it a go.
It's not ideal, but let's give it a try.
All
Let's
right.
talk a little.
Senior Attorney Karamanal here on behalf of Counsel's Office on this request for summary order of suspension for Zero Lounge Restaurant 2, Queens OP 1296143. Original issue date of the license December 1, 2016. On July 31, 2020 at 9:12 p.m., investigator Charles Travale observed at least 15 individuals standing on the sidewalk, lingering in front of the premises and around the corner, and not exercising social distancing. There was loud nightclub-style music being broadcast onto the street and sidewalk, contributing to patrons lingering and congregating. One male patron was observed consuming a Heineken beer from a bottle while standing. Investigator Travale observed one male security guard in the street out front not wearing a facial covering and engaging individuals without exercising social distancing. Tables were set up on the sidewalk, wrapping around the corner of the premises and not in compliance with New York City Department of Transportation open dining regulations. If you notice, there is a diagram at the end of Investigator Travale's 7/31/2020 investigative report. A diagram, according to Investigator Travale, actually obtained from the New York City DOT website. Many additional tables had been placed up on the sidewalks as well as in the pedestrian walkways on the corner. If you take a look at the pictures, they do not come close to matching the few tables that were actually authorized by New York City. Additionally, patrons were observed drinking while leaning on a metal barrier and standing up. The licensee is being charged with violating Executive Order 202.38 and 202.116, as well as failure to supervise for that series of violations. Upon entering the premises that evening, Investigator Travale noted the following additional violations. There was no New York Forward reopening plan available for on-site inspection. Both hookah and nicotine hookah tobacco were possessed and sold at the premises without a New York City Department of Health license. There was no beer or liquor receipts maintained on the premises, no books and records for inspection. There was a plastic container of pre-mixed sangria behind the bar, which was confirmed by a bartender that night as being pre-mixed sangria containing both liquor and wine, as well as other ingredients. There was an unmounted fire extinguisher propping open the door, as well as another unmounted fire extinguisher observed behind a couch, and a missing electrical switch plate with exposed electrical wiring were also observed. Subsequently, on Sunday, August 2nd, at 8:32 p.m., investigator Philip Persblow observed another large number of both seated and standing patrons with loud outdoor music and minimal social distancing in a nightclub atmosphere out in front of the premises. There were 34 tables counted by investigator Persblow, approximately 130 patrons seated, in addition to 7 patrons congregating without a seat and 2 patrons drinking while standing up. The crowd at times blocked the sidewalk. Upon entering the premises, investigator Persblow observed 2 employees improperly wearing face masks. The licensee is being charged with violating Executive Order 202.16 and 202.38 for this behavior. The need for licensees to prohibit a nightclub atmosphere with patrons mingling and interacting in close proximity while undertaking responsible service of food and alcoholic beverages is really central to the governor's executive orders during the reopening in the name of public health and safety during the pandemic. It has been widely reported via media sources. As a result, it's the position of the Office of Counsel. It's simply not reasonable to believe that a licensed retailer in New York City can be unaware of his responsibility to prohibit improper congregating of patrons in a nightclub atmosphere during these times. This licensee does not appear to have taken any ameliorative steps to safeguard against the violations noted by Investigator Travale during his 7/31 visit, prior to Investigator Persblow's visit on 8/2. As both loud music and patrons standing while consuming alcoholic beverages were noted in both reports, as well as numerous unapproved tables for service of patrons noted in both reports. rules. As a result, it's the position of counsel's office that the licensee was fully aware of his responsibility to provide a casual dining experience as opposed to a nightclub environment for his patrons during the reopening, and merely chose to attempt to circumvent the requirements in an effort to gain more customers at the expense of his more responsible competitors. Due to the foregoing, the Office of Counsel requests an immediate summary order of suspension on this license.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. It's Gary here, and I want to add, just for the record, that the New York City application process to obtain permission to serve outside was worked on directly with the State Liquor Authority. And our concern at the time was if the footprint of a restaurant, of a licensed premise outside, was enlarged as this place has now been enlarged, it would be difficult for the licensee to manage the crowd outside in a circumstance where supervision is even more important now than it was in the past. And this is exactly what we feared. You can see from the pictures, a sprawling crowd, music blasting. Music outside is okay, but the idea here was supposed to be to accompany a seated and orderly, socially distanced group of people who were dining, and that is not what we have here. We have an outdoor bar service, nightclub atmosphere with multiple violations of the specific New York City provisions and SLA guidances that were supposed to be adhered to allow restaurant owners like this one to open safely. That's the background to these pictures, and very concerning to counsel's office. Thank you.
Okay, then, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
I want to clarify that there is an illegal structure built in the backyard, and it has 3 walls around it and a roof.
I wasn't aware of anything in the backyard from the file, but there's clearly an illegal structure on the sidewalk in addition to the one that was approved by New York City, if that's what you're referring to, Commissioner.
Okay.
The one that was approved would be out in the street level. There's an additional one, it appears, from the pictures up on the sidewalk.
Okay.
Commissioner Fan, that's actually in the next case that we're going to be hearing.
Oh, okay.
We done? All right, so, yes, Commissioner Fan, there's a reference to a shed in one of the other items. Commissioner Fan, do you have any other questions?
No.
All right, Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, with that, I'm going to call for your votes. Commissioner Fan?
As council mentioned, this is exactly the behavior that we're trying to avoid, having an indoor, fully blasting music nightclub with loads and loads of people not social distancing and not wearing face masks and properly protected from each other for the transmission of COVID-19. And due to immediate threat to public health, safety, and welfare, I'm voting to impose an emergency order and summary suspension.
Commissioner Ford?
Employees were not wearing face masks or properly wearing them at least. Patrons were standing and consuming while ignoring social distancing. Loud music was being broadcasted outside, which is contributing to the lingering and congregating and the creation of a nightclub atmosphere. Patrons congregating and lingering in front of the premises and blocking the passageway of other people, tables in the platform next to and on top of the sidewalk, wrapping around the corner. They were all not set up in compliance with the New York City Department of Transportation open dining regs, no New York Ford reopening plan for site for inspection, hookah being possessed, smoked, and sold without an NYC DOH license, no books and records on site. Liquor was found that was purchased from an authorized source. Pre-mixed sangria was on site. An unmounted fire extinguisher was being used as a prop to open a door. There was a missing electrical switch plate cover and exposed electrical wiring conditions, creating an electrocution hazard. And another obstructed fire extinguisher was also observed behind a couch. So for all those reasons, plus all that Commissioner Fan stated, I vote to summarily suspend.
All right, thank you. All right, the next item I have is 929 JJ. I would note that Chairman Bradley is back in the room. This is King's RW 1277581 as an I Restaurant Corp. I know we don't have the prosecutor yet for this one.
Can we take a 2-minute break, please?
All right, we're gonna take a brief recess to see if we can connect with the prosecutor. I just suggest everybody mute their lines, and we're gonna do so here as well.
I'm told he's sitting in the conference room waiting and for some reason is not connected.
He didn't connect. He didn't connect to the.
You're muted.
Then unmute me.
Gary-
He didn't connect to the YouTube because he doesn't know how to do it. So
What number can he call?
they're
We're taking care of
hooking
it,
him up
Gary.
right now. Adam is hooking him up right now.
Oh, God.
Gary, is there somebody in New York that can help this guy? He can't figure out how to do what Adam's telling him to do.
Why can't he just call in?
He can. Have him do that.
Gary, I just sent you an email to you. Did you get it? I just typed it all up in an email to Gary. He can just forward that.
Yeah, but I don't know who's in touch with him.
That
I
Adam
was
can
just in
go.
there trying to talk him to legal. So Commissioner Fan, do you want to forward that to me, or Gary, you want to forward
Yeah,
that to me?
I'll send that to you, Adam. All right,
Okay,
all right,
I will
I got
try to
it.
navigate.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah.
I mean, I sent him an email, but he's not on email, so because he's sitting in there trying to figure this out.
I just sent it to Adam.
I'm told he's calling in now.
I was going to say, Gary, can we go to the next case, if that's the case?
He has the last two cases.
All righty then.
If he can't call in, we're going to have to kick him to tomorrow. My apologies.
No worries.
Back home?
Yeah, we called in about 8 o'clock this morning, 18 hours.
Oh, he must be exhausted.
To say the least, Gary. I'm comatose right now. I decided to barrel through.
Guys, we're being taped right now, so why don't we just keep it to a minimum, the chitter chatter?
And live streamed, okay? So,
Oh, I did not realize that.
Attendee ID number. Hello? Hello?
Bob, is that you? Are you on the line?
Yeah, this is Bob Buckley. I'm on my cell phone trying to do it this way.
Chairman, for the record, there's something up today with the connections into this line. All three calls had the same issue for some reason.
all right then, we are back on the record after a recess. The next item is 929 JJ. It is Kings RW 1277581.
All right, hope you can all hear me. This is Robert Buckley for the Zone 1 Counsel's Office. I'm doing it on my cell phone. I wasn't sorry for the mix-up on the procedure. Counsel's Office is requesting an emergency order of summary suspension regarding King's RW Restaurant Wine License 1277581 issued to Anaya Restaurant at 744 Myrtle Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. And the request is based on a report of an investigative task force inspection on Thursday, July 30th, 2020 from 9:58 p.m. to 10:17 p.m. The inspection is based on 301 complaints of excessive noise. Very likely those noise complaints were emanated from a storage or shed that was constructed outside the premises in the rear that Investigator Stravalli observed. This rear yard is not part of the licensed premises, nor did the licensee ask for permission to use the rear yard, nor this shed. Investigator Stravalli saw at least 15 persons drinking and smoking hookah in this shed. They were not socially distanced. Also, we noticed that even though the premises are licensed as a restaurant, they did not have food service. The menu submitted with the application did show a full-service Spanish-type cuisine at this location. Investigator Stravalli also noted that there was propane-fueled outdoor barbecue, which was not permitted in the city of New York in a commercial establishment. at least 3 employees, including a person identified as the owner, did not have face coverings, did not have their face coverings properly over their nose and mouth. Again, there was hookah activity without a permit, and it's very unlikely this location could even be issued a permit. Investigator Cervalli also noted the fire extinguisher had not been inspected since January 2020. There were no receipts for wholesale beer purchases, and required warning signs were not posted. So this clearly looks like this licensee is trying to avoid the prohibition against indoor dining and drinking by having this shed constructed in the rear yard. I did see on the New York City Department of Buildings website there is an open complaint regarding that this premises from July 15th of this year that this shed has been constructed. So that's a violation of 202.3 and the indoor drinking and dining. The social distancing, violation of Executive Order 202.43, and no face coverings by the employees violates Executive Orders 202.16, indoor 202.17, and the other violations are covered either by the fire code for the New York City Administrative Code Fire Code or the ABC law. So again, based on all this, the authority requests that the members contemplate the emergency order or summary suspension.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Just to add, obviously the determination of what's outside or inside depends in part on whether there's a fixed roof. As you can see from your picture, I mean, this is a full new construction with rafters in it. This is not a temporary structure. It's not open on 2 sides, and people are inside as if this was supposedly outside, which it clearly is not.
Yeah, so Investigator Cervalli does note it appears to be a permanent structure, and it appears that the licensee has, in essence, annexed its rear yard, even though in its application they stated they were not going to be using any outdoor areas. So I think by constructively they're using an outdoor area as part of their premises.
Okay, then, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good, Tom. Thank you.
Chairman Bradley?
I have one. Was this outdoor shed or built or structure, whatever we're calling it, that clearly is an indoor structure, was it built, do we think, in response to the COVID-19 situation to enlarge, or do we think this was there before that?
Chairman, I can only, I'm not going to speculate. As I said, the only thing I saw was a complaint that was open on July 15th of this year and assigned to the construction unit of the building department for the city of New York to investigate this structure that
Okay.
maybe
Right,
maybe the neighbors complain about.
I got it. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll also note for the record that in circumstances our guidance allows for people to expand onto areas where they're entitled to expand. They're supposed to provide us with a diagram and that they're doing so within 5 days. That clearly did not happen here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right, with
I mean, the
that-
bill, I'm sorry.
That's
Go
good,
ahead.
Bob. Thank you.
With that, we're going to call for the votes of the Commissioner Fan.
This licensee has built an illegal building in his backyard and is running a nightclub with a lot of patrons standing inside and not taking the appropriate precautions related to COVID pandemic. I suppose this is one of the silver linings of COVID-19, that our agency is now able to, staff up enough and focus enough and hear from the community enough to find a structure like this that probably, that may or may not have been operating before COVID, but certainly is a fire trap and is definitely an immediate threat to public health, safety, and welfare. So I'm voting to suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford.
They were violating indoor consumption of food without beverage, employees not properly wearing face masks, patrons standing and consuming while ignoring social distancing, extremely loud music emanating from the rear of the premises, not to mention a large structure that was in the yard constructed of a solid roof and 3 walls constructed of chain link and bamboo walls that were there. And at least 15 patrons were noticed seated inside. Illegal hookah service also without a server without a mask, and patrons observed smoking hookah. No food service observed. No New York Ford reopening plan on site. Lacking books and records. Fire extinguisher without a monthly inspection validation. And no flame proofing certificate for the bamboo decorations or curtains on front windows. No New York City DOB permit for rear structure or SLA proof of approval. Extension of premises with a beer cooler in the backyard. Certificate of occupancy doesn't allow for backyard use and not listed on their establishment questionnaire with the SLA. The warning signs for prohibited sales and pregnancy weren't on display, and a propane barbecue was being used, and that's prohibited in a commercial establishment. So for all those and plus all the reasons that Commissioner Fan stated, I vote to summarily suspend.
Okay, Chairman Bradley.
I vote to summarily suspend. I think both commissioners covered it for me. Thank you.
All right, then the next item, 929KK, King's OP 127-2225. The licensee is Good Vision Taste, Inc.
Thank you. Again, Robert Buckley for the New York City Council's office, requesting that the board contemplate an emergency order of summary suspension for the license issued to Good Vision Taste Inc. The basis would be the police referral that's been submitted to the State Liquor Authority and been assigned case 146253. The police referral was submitted by Lieutenant Mohammed Ahmed, the Special Operations Lieutenant for the 61st Precinct in Brooklyn, New York. In the referral, Lieutenant Ahmed references early Friday morning, July 24, 2020, at 1:30 a.m., where he describes persons inside the location, as well as pedestrians had to go around this location because the premises had tables set up on the sidewalk and blocking the sidewalk from pedestrian traffic, and that there were numerous people inside the location, as I've now learned from speaking to Lieutenant Ahmed this afternoon, that in fact this location has been advised on numerous occasions from Captain Gabay, the commanding officer of the 61st Precinct, the executive officer, Lieutenant Ahmed, and other neighborhood coordinating officers about how to operate this location in compliance with the appropriate now executive orders and the mayor's executive order. Lieutenant Ahmed says he's mostly been speaking with Vladislav Yusufov, I believe the pronunciation might be, who is believed to be the husband of sole principal Diana Yusufova. Lieutenant Ahmed described this location as being a legitimate restaurant, particularly during Monday through Wednesday. But from Thursday on to Sunday, the premises operates continuously in the way that's been described on the July 24th date. So in other words, you have persons inside the location drinking, not wearing masks, not socially distancing. You have loud music playing, both emanating from the location and from cars parked outside the location. Lieutenant Ahmed described the premises as being out of control. When I asked him, what that meant, he described these things going on, as well as apparent underage drinking, smoking hookah, smoking marijuana, and that since there were so many people, the lieutenant couldn't address all those issues with his officers. But it's certainly a focal point of police attention that they continuously describe to the manager of the location how to operate their premises in a safe, law-abiding manner. And it seems like, particularly on the weekends, the premises completely ignores these directions on how to operate this location. And the fact that people are drinking, there's loud music causing them to get even closer when they're having conversations, certainly creates an atmosphere where transmission of the coronavirus makes it a perfect atmosphere for the transmission of the virus. They've tried time and time again to describe to the premises how it should properly operate, and they seem to ignore the
Mr.
instructions.
Buckley, I think we got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, let me
as well as just one thing, there was 4 days later an EO inspection. Not all, but all they found was employees not having face coverings, including the manager. But again, that was during the middle of the week when the premises operates as a restaurant.
Okay, let me just add for the record, thank you, Bob, that this is a location where, if the precinct was having this much trouble with them each weekend, we would have hoped to have received a referral earlier, but we now have this referral. And they're talking about having massive numbers of people inside. This is in Brooklyn. Nobody inside is permitted at this point. And also a big crowd outside and tables outside that's blocking people from getting down the street. You have pictures and the police report. Thank you.
Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
No, sir, I'm good. Thank you.
Chairman Bradley, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
All right, then we'll call for your votes. First, Commissioner Fan.
This licensee is operating a full-on nightclub indoors with up to 200 people after multiple warnings from NYPD. It continues to do so, and it's become a focal point, as counsel described. It's also violating a lot of other ABC laws, like sale to minor potentially, and others. This location is a waste of police and our agency's investigative resource, and due to immediate threat to public health, safety, and welfare, I'm voting to summarily suspend this license.
All right, then, Commissioner Ford.
Excuse me. 150 to 200 people were observed inside the restaurant, sitting on tables. So I'd say not to mention folks outside blocking passersby from being able to get through and having to go out on the sidewalk. So I'd say the lieutenant was correct in describing the situation as somewhat out of control. Loud music was being played, creating an atmosphere of congregation and mingling. So they apparently are draining NYPD resources, not to mention the SLA, and I'm surprised we haven't heard about this before now. But for all those reasons, plus everything that was stated by Commissioner Fan, I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Chairman Bradley.
I vote to summarily suspend for the same reasons as the other commissioners. But before we go, Mr. Buckley, I'm reading the paperwork here, and the officer indicates that he has a lot of other body cam footage as well as pictures and could create many other SLA reports. I would ask you to go and get all of that evidence as well as those reports and charge them for every date that they have.
Yeah, Chairman. In fact, the lieutenant told me he did have, I believe, body cam video, but I think there's a problem in transmitting video but I'll get whatever I can from the lieutenant.
And other dates, and charge the other dates as well.
Understood.
Thank you.
All right, with that,
Okay.
I have nothing else on the calendar. Chairman Bradley, you have anything else you want to cover?
Nope, thank you.
All right, with that, then, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
you.